Said love Rastafari.
Yes, welcome to the Jamaica Young Police channel. To our loyal viewers and subscribers, at the channel we are a group of law-abiding citizens who believe in the rule of law and respect the rights of every citizens, but not the ones who do not subscribe to such behavior. We do believe in and support preemptive strikes because it saves lives. That is a logical conclusion because preemptive strikes save lives and prevent the further loss of lives. We are all about saving lives on this channel. We at this channel aid criminals, their financiers, their supporters, enablers, and the likes with a passion, and we do not want them over here. Yes, let us repeat ourselves. We do not want any criminal supporters over here. Please, we do not want your views, your subscriptions, your likes, or your comments. Please go elsewhere where the red carpet is waiting for you. Over here, we want you, the criminal supporters, enablers, financiers, and all the likes, to go to prison or madness. Let me repeat myself. We at the Jamaica Young Police channel, we do not want the criminal supporters and their circle over here. We want you to go to prison or madden. Moving on to our video. Yes, you know, in the history of Jamaica, when it comes on to politics and Michael Manley, yeah man, Michael Manley, that I man is here at the left, and his wife, his black wife, her name is Beverly Anderson Duncan. She had married to the man at the upper right, yeah man, DK Duncan. She would have killed Michael Manley with bun when she married to him. She used to work at RJR, yes, she used to work at the radio station in Jamaica back then. And it was rumored, alleged said that she was the mattress. So Michael Manley, because Michael Manley wanted to show the black people them that he wasn't racist. I'm born in England. But you know, back then, although them say my father born and my mother born, the Labour, it wasn't brutal as the PMP, because they didn't go at Michael Manley as his place of birth. You know, say that this man is a British citizen born in England. So you know, the people them they didn't attack him, but he was able to attack Edward Seaga using the surrogates to attack him mercilessly. As you know, Edward Seaga outlived Michael Manley. You know, when he died, he was close to 90. Now we have a black thief who is like 90. I mean, I know him live so long, but that's how it goes still when you're wicked. And Michael Manley passed away at 72. But whether or not you want to believe, Michael Manley, Beverly Anderson Manley, and DK Duncan love betrayal and the corruption of power. But Michael Manley, Jamaica's charismatic fourth Prime Minister, married to Beverly Anderson in 1972, it appeared to many as a perfect union of politics and progress. Manley, a towering figure in Jamaica politics and son of national hero Norman Manley, was at the height of his power. As I had said, Norman Manley and Buster Manley should not get no hero. Them should not get be no Jamaican hero. The real Jamaican hero is a man named Taki. But you know, the British hated him. Anything where white people is against, a good thing for black people. Because Taki is the one that started the revolution against the British imperialists and the colonialists, the slave drivers them in Jamaica. And they were aided by the Maroons, them like the Richard Curry's ancestors. That's why we say them as traitors even to this day. So that's why we as Jamaicans, we have to band our hands them together and make sure our hands are there to make sure we fight the enemies in every way, not physically. And we say band we're not talking about if we go pick up no weapon, we are talking about mentally, physically, how to think and how to defeat your enemies. Beverly Anderson, a beautiful, intelligent and articulated young woman, brought to the marriage a modern, youthful energy that complemented Manley's political vision of a democratic socialism and empowerment for the poor. Together, they symbolize hope and change. That never happened. Yes, them change. The only thing when them change Jamaica to a criminal paradise. Michael Manley have destroyed Jamaica's people's life, especially people from my community, because that's where the baby born criminality. The kind of couple that inspired photographs and magazine covers and public adoration. But behind the carefully crafted image of unity and love, there were troubling undercurrents. Their marriage, once seen as a powerful partnership, became a cautionary tale of betrayal, hypocrisy, and intertwining of personal immorality and political corruption. So it was rumored from before Michael Manley even married to her that she was in a relationship with D.K. Duncan. Michael Manley bad up D.K. Duncan and take her from him, take her Beverly Manley from D.K. Duncan and married to her. And Michael Manley still keep him around him. I don't know who does that, So a marriage at the intersection of power and ambition. So Beverly Anderson, who later adopted the name Beverly Anderson Duncan after her divorce of Manley and subsequent public alignment with D.K. Duncan, was not just a political wife. She was an activist, public figure, and advocate in her own right. Alright, so now 2025. So I can't recall anything that this woman have done when it comes on to black women or women. Right now we have a woman named Lana Mickey Robertson has been kidnapped and murdered by PMP LGBTQ plus criminal organization gunman Yogi. And Yogi is still alive. He's supposed to be at the departure lounge, him and Tammy Lee Spartan. I said that without any apologies. Because you kill one of a woman, you're supposed to be in our crosshair by security forces. Well, we continue your journey. So she appeared alongside Manley on platforms, campaigned vigorously, and became a visible face of his administration. But while she stood in the public as a dutiful wife, and worthless lady. When we say worthless because she married to the man and she not sleep with D.K. Duncan, see me? Based on what has been said privately and publicly about the relationship then. I was a youth then. Because even her daughter, I have a sister that my father is a man named Love Michael Manley. There was a battle between him and my mother. My mother never wanted Natasha in my sister's name, but my father insists, you understand. Because he's a Michael, him love Michael Manley. My mother did, my mother never liked the violence and the man, my mother in them thing there. Although, we live in a PMP community. So Michael Manley, my sister now, that's how she get her middle name, because of Michael Manley. My father is him love Michael Manley to death. You understand? But like said me, Michael Manley, so as his son, I make him know that Michael Manley was a devil. That Beverly Anderson was engaged in an affair with none other than Donald Keith, D.K. Duncan, Manley's handpicked Minister of National Mobilization. The alleged affair and the jacket children. So what made the rumored betrayal even more scandalous was the suggestion that the two children Beverly Anderson had during her marriage to Manley were not actually his biological children, but rather the offspring of D.K. Duncan, the very man Manley had entrusted to help implement his political agenda and build his grassroots machinery. In Jamaica, the term jacket refers to a child who's presented as belonging to one man but is in reality fathered by another. A devastating deception for any man, let alone the nation's leader. Among Manley's political detractors and even within his own party, the whispers of Beverly's jackets came as a symbol of moral decay that accompanied the political violence and corruption of the 1970s. Whether the rumor were true or not, the perception that Beverly betrayed her husband with his closest confidant was enough to tarnish her image permanently and expose the personal hypocrisy of political elite. So that's all I mean is why D.K. Duncan, almost as he must win as a PMP candidate, I think on a PJ partisan, he never get a cabinet post. Because you know, the PMP LGBTQ plus criminal a Michael Manley party. Because his father was one I found, and them never reward DK Duncan with a seat as a minister. He was always just a member of parliament. So them say, what kind of woman would not only betray her husband, but do so with the very man he had entrusted and elevated to power? What kind of woman would engage in an affair that would not only humiliate the husband, but also feed the destructive political machinery that has really tearing Jamaica apart? What kind of woman would allow her personal desire to override her public role and the dignity expected of the office she occupied? Such questions are not just about Beverly Manley. They speak to a larger theme, the corrosive nature of unchecked ambition, selflessness, and lack of discipline. Qualities that, when mixed with power, can destroy not only individuals, but nations. The political and moral consequences. DK Duncan, for his part, was a brilliant but ruthless political operative. He helped engineers Manley's machinery and political mobilization, which many argue escalated Jamaica political violence and entrenched partisan garrison that persists to this day. His alleged involvement with Beverly only reinforced the perception that he was not just disloyal to the Jamaican people through his political actions, but also disloyal to the man who gave him his position. Their rumored relationship became emblematic of the hypocrisy of Jamaica's political elite at the time, preaching socialism and equality to the masses, while engaging in moral, political, and personal corruption behind closed doors. Lessons for Jamaica? This saga offers a sobering lesson. Leaders and their families must understand that personal integrity cannot be separated from public service. When those in power lose sight of basic principles of loyalty, honesty, and morality, they do not betray their own qualities and families. They betray the trust of the entire nation. Beverly's alleged betrayal and Duncan's alleged complicity are not just gossip, rather anecdotes. They should remind us of the dangers of intertwining personal gratification with public ambition, of allowing the same machinery that oppresses the people to poison the very relationships that sustain leadership. Whether the rumors about the children are true or not, what remains undeniable is the harm such actions, or even the credible perception of them, have done to Jamaica's political culture. They highlight how personal sins and public sins often go hand in hand. For Jamaicans today, this is a moment to reflect. We cannot allow leaders or their families to hide their moral failings behind the curtains of power. We must demand integrity, not only in governance, but in the private lives of those who claim to lead. Because a man who cannot trust his own wife, and his wife who cannot remain loyal to her husband while publicly championing the plight of Jamaican people, expose themselves as hypocrites, unworthy of the roles they occupy. Michael Manley may have been the first Prime Minister to receive 2 jackets from his wife, but let us make sure he is also the last, by learning from history and demanding better of those who represent us. So as we continue the journey, we are delve back into some context about Beverly Anderson, Duncan, beauty, power, and betrayal. Jamaica history is full of towering figures who shaped the nation for better or worse. Few stories, however, reveal as much about the intertwining of personal ambition, moral compromise, and political chaos as the marriage of Michael Manley and Beverly Anderson Duncan. From the outset, their union seemed to symbolize a progressive, independent Jamaican. Michael Manley, the magnetic, Oxford-educated son of Norman Manley, and Beverly Anderson, a young, dark-skinned working-class woman who defied societal norm and became the cultural icon. The woman who knows that the boy she a ram figure a man bun. Together they promised whoop. But what lay behind that glamorous facade was a tragedy of betrayal, not only personal but political. Early life of Beverly, from nobody to worthless lady. When we say worthless, you know, so you have what them do now, them everybody try to mimic America. Jamaica and the first lady, we did have a worthless lady. We don't know how them come by that. I follow Michelle Obama turn everybody in an idiot because she had the black first lady in America. So Beverly Anderson Manley, born on November 8, 1941. Beverly Anderson came from a modest beginning. Her parents, Esmond and Eric Anderson, raised her with discipline and dignity. Beverly's striking beauty and poise allowed her to work as a model, actress and broadcaster. Despite her charm, those who knew her before she married Manley described her as socially ambitious and in certain uptown circles as a woman with scruples when it came to getting ahead. It's no secret that even before her marriage to Michael Manley, Beverly allegedly carried on a sexual relationship with D.K. Duncan, one of Manley's most trusted lieutenants and architect of much of the PNP LGBTQ political machinery. Back then, it was the PNP. Within Jamaica's uptown elite, whispers of her license and moral compromises abound. She was already entangled in Duncan's orbit before she ever became Mrs. Manley. Marriage to Michael Manley, a union of convenience. In 1972, Beverly married Michael Manley, who was then ascended to the peak of political power. At the time, Michael was nearly 2 decades her senior and entering his 4th marriage. Many saw the union as mutually beneficial. She gained status and influence. He gained a youthful, vibrant wife who appealed to the grassroots majority. Thanks for her unapologetic black image and advocacy. Together, they have 2 children in 1974 and 1980. But even this became subject of scorn and speculation. It is widely rumored within the PNP's inner circle that these children were not biological Michaels, but rather fathered by D.K. Duncan, with whom Beverly was carrying on a clandestine and not so secret affair. Jamaicans known for their biting wit called it what it was. She jacketed Michael twice in the Jamaican lexicon. A jacket is a child deceitfully passed off as biologically belonging to one man while biologically belonging to another. They have fear betrayal at the highest level. Let's be blunt. What kind of woman standing alongside her husband as a lady, in which we can call her a worthless lady, entrusted with representing the nation, would fall so low as to sleep with her husband's right-hand man, the very architect of the destructive political garrison system? What kind of man would exploit his position of trust to humiliate his leader in such a way? Beverly's alleged betrayal of Michael wasn't merely a personal matter. It mirrored the moral rot of the political system they both helped create. A system that claimed to power and empower the poor, but instead bred violence, corruption, and cronyism. D.K. Duncan, the man at the center of this sordid triangle, was no innocent, known as a brilliant but ruthless political operator. He engineered the PNP's infamous garrison politics, which militarized neighborhoods and turned communities into fortresses of party loyalty enforced by fear and bloodshed. For Beverly to align herself intimately with such a man, both politically and sexually, suggests that her moral compass was as skewed as the political culture they both helped build. Beverly's contradictions publicly. Beverly styled herself as a champion of women, the working class, and black pride. She wore her afro with pride, rejected Eurocentric beauty standard, and defied Jamaica's color hierarchy. In many ways, she inspired marginalized women to claim their dignity, which was good because we're in a natural year. That is something good. So at least you'll save the black women them now from spending billions of buying falls here, waiting for Indian people to dead and white people to dead. And what may I tell you? But how does she reconcile that public image with private conduct? Oh, she does it. Well, how does one square her activism for justice with the humiliation she inflicted on the man she stood beside as his wife, as a lady, and the complicity she showed in Duncan's destructive political machine? It's easy to wear dashiki and give speech at the United Nations. It's harder to live with integrity in private. The story of Beverly, Michael, and DK Duncan teaches us something sobering about power, sex, and politics in Jamaica. This was not simply about a woman who betrayed her husband. It was about how personal feelings at the highest level mirrored and even accelerated the moral collapse of a nation. In the 1970s and 1980s, while ordinary Jamaicans suffered violence, hardship, and economic turmoil, the political elite carried on affairs, amassed power, and manipulated the people they claimed to serve. Beverly's alleged actions embodied that hypocrisy. What kind of woman cheats on her husband with his closest ally? What kind of woman betrays his leader and father figure, the children that another man raises publicly as his own? What kind of political movement allows such depravity to fester at its core and still claims to fight for the poor? For those who admire Beverly Anderson Duncan for her contributions to women's rights, media, and culture, it is important not to whitewash the full story. Yes, she was articulate, stylish, and outspoken, but she was also a woman who, according to credible rumors, put her own desires above the dignity of her marriage and the moral health of her nation. If true, the jackets she allegedly gave Michael Manley were not just a personal humiliation, but a national disgrace, showing how deeply personal and political corruption can intertwine. Jamaicans deserve to know the full story, the inspiring and the shameful, because history must be told honestly. Beverly Anderson Duncan's story reminds us that beautiful speech and a bold hairstyle do not equal moral courage. It reminds us that the choices we make in private often undermines the causes we fight for in public. As citizens, we must demand more from our leaders and those who stand beside them than charisma and symbolism. We must demand honesty, decency, and loyalty, because without those things, no political movement, no matter how noble its words, can truly uplift the people. Natasha and David Manley, born to Michael Manley, born British too. So Natasha and David Manley, these are Michael Manley's children. That's Beverly Manley. Had during the marriage with Michael Manley. We haven't, we are based on what we have seen the outer appearance of both children, Natasha and David. As Jamaicans that are before DNA exists, you look at them and say, yes, they are Michael Manley's children, because of even David. David has the resemblance of Michael Manley. Natasha, she has Michael Manley complexion and his hair. So you can say, that genes has been passed down to them. That doesn't mean genetically that they are Michael Manley's children, but that is, we're just saying that don't know, because you understand what I'm saying. When Beverly Anderson Manley married Michael Manley in 1972, they had 2 children during their marriage, Natasha and David, born in 1974 and 1980 respectively. These 2 children were publicly acknowledged as Michael's, and under British nationality law and Jamaica's history, they were indeed British citizens at birth, a fact often overlooked by Jamaicans when discussing their lives. Here's why. Michael Manley, a Jamaican with British birthright. Michael Norman Manley himself was born in Britain in 1924, while his father Norman Manley was studying at Oxford, and his mother Edna Manley was in England. That meant Michael automatically acquired British citizen by birth under the laws of British Empire at the time, long before Jamaica became independent in 1962. Although he later became a Jamaican prominent political leader and champion for independence and socialism, he could never undo the fact of his British birth and the legal implication that came with it. So, as a British-born citizen, Michael passed on his citizenship to any legitimate children born to him, no matter where in the world they were born. Natasha and David inherited British citizenship under British nationality law. Children born to a British citizen anywhere in the world automatically acquire citizenship by descent. This applies whether they are born in Jamaica, London, or Timbuktu. So as long as the father, mother, under modern rules, is a British citizen. Thus, Natasha and David Manley, born in Jamaica to Michael Manley, British-born, automatically became British citizens by descent at birth. This would have been true even if the rumor that their biological father, being D.K. Duncan, were true. But since Michael recognized them as his and they bore his name and status, they inherit both his Jamaican and British heritage. Where they now? It's not surprising then that both Natasha and David reportedly settled in London, England, the heart of the farmer empire their father was born into and one symbolically opposed. They live today enjoying the privilege of their British citizenship, something their father's birth provided and which Jamaican law and politics could not strip away. This is a striking irony. While Michael Manley spent his political life rallying against colonialism and imperialism, his children have reportedly chosen to live under the very flag and crown he once defied. So what does this tell us? It shows the hypocrisy embedded in Jamaica's post-colonial political elite, fighting Britain in speeches while enjoying British passports privately. It reflects how Jamaica's upper class always maintain ties to Britain and secure a future for their children abroad, even while telling the masses to embrace hardship for the cause. It also illustrates how citizenship laws favors the powerful, even as ordinary Jamaicans struggle to migrate to even get a visa. Children of the elite had the right to settle in Britain effortlessly. Natasha and David Manley live in Britain, and their lives are not their fault. They are innocent recipients of their father's choice, his legacy and his status. But their story highlights an uncomfortable truth about Jamaica's independence struggle and leaders. While they champion sovereignty and dignity for the nation, they ensure their own families could enjoy the benefits of colonial system they publicly condemn. Today, as Natasha and David live comfortably in England, the Jamaican people should reflect on what this symbolizes: leadership that speaks to the poor but lives like the rich. Leadership that builds garrisons at home but secure mansions abroad. Leadership that cries down with the Queen or down with the King while ensuring their children carry his passport. It is a lesson and a warning to scrutinize not only what leaders say but how they live. Where they send their children and what passport they hold in their back pocket. So now that you have known something now about Michael Manley that you didn't know before, that Michael Manley is the first Prime Minister in Jamaica to get 2 jackets. But as we said, that is just rumor, allegation, and because of the wife infidelity, they say that that man is the father of both children. But based on, just looking at the children, I don't know, but I can say that they look nothing like DK Duncan. Because DK and Duncan is a real brown man. Him not have Michael Manley DNA, him not have no white. Him not have the white Caucasian hair. Although him brown. But why it's sad, the way that Beverly Manley have been, disrespecting the Prime Minister back then. And it wasn't a secret. Every Jamaican, back then know that she was that woman, the one that would have killed her husband with bun. Have yourself a beautiful day. Jamaica Young Police Channel out.